Good morning, friends. I was at the UN this week. I had the opportunity to speak and share ideas and solutions about the global childcare crisis, and it was a very interesting life experience to be a part of the UN process and to speak there for the first time. You're probably wondering if I traveled to New York, where the UN normally is. Well, no, it's the first time in the history of the world that the UN has gathered in the United States outside of New York. Normally it's always in New York, but this summer the UN came to Salt Lake City, and this week there was a UN conference there, the 68th session, I believe, and it was amazing. And I got to speak there about the global childcare crisis with two of my mentors and amazing women in leadership, Susan Madsen and Paula Fellingham. Here's the thing that stuck out to me the most from the conversations that I heard while I was there. Everything was solutions focused. Yes, we were talking about the global childcare crisis, but once we laid down the stats, it was all about, now what are the solutions? What can we focus on? And in other sessions that they as well would discuss the problem and then focus on, now what are the solutions? What are the sustainable solutions that we can start putting into place? So with that backdrop and that thought in mind, that is how I like to lead my life as well. I don't want to just be a complainer that is constantly focused on the problems. In your workplace or in your family, if you need to draw attention to a problem, you should share that problem with the spirit of offering a solution immediately or leading a discussion about brainstorming a solution. Be a solutions-focused person rather than just a complainer, always talking about the problems and wallowing in the problems. Being an entrepreneur is all about being a problem solver. How fast can you solve the problems is how good of an entrepreneur you are becoming. So I want to share with you this morning one of the ways that I lay down solutions in my life. And this is a daily practice that I have done for over a decade, probably about 15 years now. I have focused on this process myself as one of the most significant ways that I find solutions in my life. And it's a daily practice. All right, I'm going to give you this formula of what works for me when I have a big problem. And this is on my mind because today I have a big problem. And so I'm usually sharing on these lives what has been running around in my brain, and I like to share as well what I have experience with. Well, friends, I have massive experience with what I'm about to share with you. I have massive experience with finding success with this model of moving from a problem to a solution. So here's what I do. This is my daily practice. I partner with God, but in a very specific, intentional way. I don't just pray and beg for help and expect him to swoop in and solve my problems, but I do seek his aid, guidance, and mentoring, and here's how I do it. I turn my problem into a question, and I lay down that question before God, but first and foremost before myself. So my daily practice consists of me writing out a question physically on a paper, on a notebook, in a record of some sort, in a journal, or mostly now it's a digital practice. So I'll write it in my phone, and then I will pray over it. I will seek guidance and inspiration, but I don't just go straight to God in begging mode and expect him to solve my problems for me. I go through a spiritual process, a work process, a mental process, and after I've put that question down, I work through it in my own mind and I come up with my own solution. Sometimes the solution is immediate. Sometimes the solution takes 3 or 4 days. Sometimes it takes a month for me to figure out in my own mind, all the while praying over it, praying about it, and trying to seek inspiration and information and putting all of the resources that I have together to do the work to come up with my own solution. Remember this concept, whether it's with your boss or with your family. If you've got a problem, label it, label the problem, but don't just stay there in a position of complaining. You've got to identify the problem and do the work to suggest solutions. It works the same way, at least for me, with God. If I'm laying down a question I need help with, you got to write it out, write it down. That is an important part of my process, my daily practice that I do. And once I've put it down in writing, then I do the work to come up with my own solution. Then the next step that I do in this practice is I take my solution to God, I answer my own question, and then I seek his confirmation or correction. And I could tell you, I don't know how many. I actually keep a spiritual index of spiritual experiences that I have had, answers to prayer that I have had. And it is, it's actually 5 pages long. I've been keeping it for a long time, since I was a teenager, and I'm now into my 5th decade. And so I have quite a collection of stories of proof that this daily practice works. It's not really my own idea. It's a biblical promise, ask and you shall receive. But the more you ask and put it into practice, the more you will receive. So I take my solution, my own solution. Remember, we're not in begging mode. We are doing the work to find our own answers to our problems. Being problem solvers ourselves, I take my best shot at the solution. I say, this is my question, this is my problem, and I have done the work to come up with a solution. Here it is. And I lay it out before God. And then I pray again and I say, am I correct? Or could I get some confirmation here? Or am I totally off track and I need some correction and redirecting? And I have had so many experiences both ways, because sometimes I have nailed it and my thinking is just right on track, and other times he has given me a clear correction, like, well, nice try, nice idea, but no, we're going to do this other thing or move this other way. And I have had so many experiences with both that I have pure confidence that God is aware of us. He is aware of me, but I am not some kind of special something. It's a promise to everyone. And if you go to God with your questions, with your problems, and bring to him a solution, I'm confident that he will speak to you as well. And so, because I am so confident in this process, I've got such a history to prove it to myself that I also know if I receive nothing when I take my solution to him, that I'm good to go and I can move confidently in the direction of the solution that I have obtained. And then there's one more detail to this daily practice. That is, if I feel that the solution that is coming to my mind or the confirmation that I feel I have received from God to move in a certain direction is so intense or insane or moving into crazy town, like for example, launch a global tech company, launch the Airbnb of childcare. If it's something like that, or not even that extreme, that's kind of extreme, but for example, or if it's something that is going to potentially harm my reputation, embarrass my family, cause financial distress, take me out of the home away from our children, or anything that is a stressor or potential negative, and I am not 100% certain, but I am pretty sure that God is confirming to me that the answer to my question or problem is X, and I should move in this certain direction, but it's moving into crazy town, then I do what I refer to as I seek to obtain a second confirmation, which means I say something like this with God as my mentor. I say, I think, I'm just saying this, I think that you and me working together, I laid down the problem, I got the clear solution, I brought it to you, and I think you're saying do this crazy thing, but here's all the reasons why that is not a good idea. And I list them out. And I say, I cannot do that. I cannot do that because all of these crazy things. Unless I get a clear, very clear, crystal clear, undeniable, pure confidence, second confirmation, then of course, I will do that thing. I try to live my life in a way that I am always partnered with God in His service, consecrating my life to Him, doing His will, because I have found through experience that when you partner with God, the results turn out way better than when you just go with your own ideas. So even though it is often a harder path than I would choose on my own, I have learned through trial and error and experience that if you just go with God and trust in His path, in His answers, even if it seems crazy, if you have received that second confirmation, because friends, if you just get a feeling, I would not suggest moving forward on a feeling. You know, if it's a feeling like take cookies to your neighbor, do that. If it's something like launch a global tech company, we don't do that on a feeling. You've got to get a clear answer, and I would suggest in that kind of crazy town that you get a second confirmation as well. So hopefully that's helpful to you. If you have a problem and you need to be a problem solver, I suggest you partner with God and call forth that promise that is in the Bible and is for everyone to ask and you shall receive. I have implemented that concept, that practice over and over and over in my life, and I know it works. That is specifically how I do it. That's my daily practice. That's what I'm doing today. Once again, I have an epic problem and question before me, and well, I'm confident that the answer will be clear, but I've got to do the work. I've got to do the work to come up with my own solution and not just be a complainer. And then I intend to seek confirmation or correction and have a clear path before me. I would love to answer any of your questions if you have any. Good morning, those of you who are watching. If you have any questions, you could share them with me now, or you could put them in the comments and we can keep the conversation going. And just one final reminder for those of you who are with me now or join me later, this is your last chance, last call if you want to be a reader, a feedback giver for the Circle Up manuscript, the book about the story of Momni that's coming soon in print. This is your last chance to get it for free if you want to be a reviewer and give feedback. Since the deadline is next Friday to finish that process. And then after that, you're going to have to buy it. So if you would like to read, actually that book is filled with quite a few stories and examples of this very process. I have had to use this process repeatedly over and over and over to guide the process of launching, growing, securing investment for Momni, all the things that I have done to overcome massive barriers, shatter barriers even, shall we say, to reach the point of success we're at today with Momni. So that story is in the book, Circle Up, coming soon in print form to hands near you. If you'd like to review it, then message me and I'll share the manuscript with you. And that's all I got for you, friends. Give me a comment. Give me your thank you in the form of a comment, and I would love to answer any questions if you have them. Have a fantastic day. And hey, add your ideas to mine. How do you do it? How do you ask questions? How do you solve problems? I shared this morning my way, but I know it's not everyone's way. So tell me how you do it, or maybe you do it similar to me, and I'd love to gather more ideas from you and hear how it's done with you and your family. Have a great day, friends.